This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, happy days.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, gosh. Loud and clear.
It looks like a different screen than what I'm used to. Did they change it?
No, it looks the same to me.
No, okay.
It'll, if it's vertical, it'll get wider as more people come on for the camera.
I see. Just now it's just us three, huh?
No.
Usually not.
You know what? At the top, right in the middle at the top, it says view. If you click on it, you might be on just active cameras instead of everyone.
Yeah, I think people, Shana just showed up.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're only looking at the people who are on cameras.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Policy that answers all problems that a lot of you don't know, but we have had over the years. But it's like, hey, what do you want? What do you want to do?
All right, it's 6:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. And if you want to mute your microphones there, if you're not speaking, that'd be great. Thank you. And I'll call the meeting to order for the City of Etna City Council meeting on Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. It is a teleconference meeting. And the next on our agenda is the flag salute. And we have now a flag salute program. And so what will happen is that Chris will share her screen. It will do it, and you may stand and say as you wish. I'm not hearing it, Chris.
Can you hear it?
No, not on my end.
Fine.
Well, bear with us, folks. This is a first attempt at this.
Well, maybe it's just the words in case we don't know them. We're supposed to repeat it.
No, I heard it. So I'll have to work on that.
Okay. Well, we're trying.
Can we have the flag? Can we have the flag and just say it independently? I mean, amongst us, or?
Yes, we can.
Let's see. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll keep working on it so we have the volume with it. All right. Now on the agenda is the oral comments from the public on non-agenda items. Do I have any?
You want a roll call? Do you do roll call?
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry, Mitch. Thank you. Let's go to roll call. Mitch?
Here.
Sharna?
Here.
Cliff? Is Cliff on? Brandon?
They will. They'll come and whoever these.
And Jamie. Jamie is here. So we either don't have Cliff and Brandon, or they are having technical difficulties. So we have 3 here, so we can proceed. All right, now we'll go on to oral comments from the public on items. Do we have any from the floor? All right, I don't hear any. We'll move on to the consent calendar. And do we have anything in this consent calendar this morning? I mean, this evening? No, we don't have consent calendar. All right. We'll move on to reports. We'll start with Josh because he's on camera tonight.
Yes, are
Public
you happy?
items.
You can finally see me
Yes.
and hear me, I hope. So besides the typical stuff that we've been having, we've had, as you guys have probably heard, we had an attempted robbery at Ray's Market Monday evening. This isn't something that's typical for this area. Pretty scary to be quick, but we're fortunate that we have a very experienced detective on scene. The whole department came together and has been doing what they need to do. I'm fully confident we will catch this person. And there's certain ways that we can do that. I would like to say that, you know, this wasn't a career criminal by any means. Doesn't make it any less impactful of what it was and the seriousness of it. But I don't feel like is any current danger. We've been working with several businesses that close later at night, and we'll be providing, you know, kind of a security with them when they're closing up and that type of thing, so that we're around just to help people feel a little bit more, feel better about it. So, but we're on top of that. Again, we have a really skilled detective that is on top of this, and we will catch those people involved with that. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors out there and everything. So if you do hear anything or any concerns, please direct them to us, and then we can let them know what's going on and hopefully settle those concerns for them. The other things that's going on, finally, with the vehicles, the new ones, they were supposedly born yesterday. So they should be shipped out and upfitted pretty soon. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll be getting a couple new police vehicles. And so that's about the extent to everything that's normally been going on, unless there's any further questions.
All right. Thanks, Josh. And I see we do have Cliff with us now. So a roll call. Cliff Munson, are you here?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll go on to the fire department. Alan, would you like to give your report? Give me.
All right, I guess I am muted. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay. I personally participated in the vaccination clinic that they did at the fairgrounds and feel real good about what was accomplished there. That was not an official fire department thing, but I kind of represented our fire department in that. So wanted to let you know about that. We in Scott Valley are working on a prescribed burn association, and some of you folks on the council are aware of that and also are participants. But for those who are not familiar with it, we are hoping to do some prescribed burning here before long that will hopefully serve to enhance the forest habitat as well as mitigate some fire hazard. And I hope to have some of my fire department participating in that, and we'll kind of use that as a training opportunity. So those are kind of the two things that I wanted to mention this evening.
All right. Any questions for Alan? Thank you, Alan. And I'll go back to the Public Works Department. Dan, are you on? Right. We'll move on then to ambulance. Do we have Terry or Mike?
Hey there. Nothing really to report. We're kind of getting going with our new volunteers. They've been putting in their orientation time. One of them has already completed all their orientation and starting to run calls. So that's been a big help having more volunteers available, and just working on trying to continually find different ways of cost saving and training opportunities, and I'll keep you posted on all those as I've got a bunch of stuff in the works, but nothing really to share with you right now.
Okay, thanks, Terry. Sounds good. Okay, clerk report. Chris, do you have anything for us tonight?
No, I mean, just last week, I had the City Clerk Association of California training all week. Got a lot of really good information from that. City patches came in today. I emailed everybody those, and I'll get those set up to start that contest tomorrow or Thursday. We're still in quarantine. Jenny's back tomorrow. I expect to be back as soon as I get the letter tomorrow. And we did get the council chamber wired, ready for the meetings. We just now we just need to get all the equipment in there and test it out. And the only other thing is we're going to be switching to a Zoom platform instead of this GoToMeeting, because the software that we'll be using GoToMeeting doesn't support that. So we're going to slowly phase out. And I think Zoom has a lot more things that we could use, like hands and all of that. And that's about it.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Next is mayor report. I don't have any, well, I do have two things. And one is I recognized Josh Short last meeting, but he was off playing on vacation. And so I will offer this up, this acknowledgement to Josh, 20 years of service that he's had for the city of Etna, and want to publicly thank you, Josh, for all your diligence and hard work. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
You
we
need a
would do. No, it's okay if you want to do a speech. We would do cake, cookies, and punch if we were together. And then the other thing for the mayor report, just for information sharing, we now have 7,557 people from our county are vaccinated, but we're still in the purple tier, and we have neighbors both to the west of Del Norte County and to the south, Trinity County, and I have decreased their numbers and their percentages, and they're going into the lower tiers, so more opening available to them. And but we still have to be below 8% of positive cases, and we're not. We had 19 new cases today, and there's only one way to get those numbers down, is if we stop spreading the virus. So it's always the same thing: mask up, everyone, even if it's inconvenient, and due diligence with social distancing. All right, do we have any city council reports or committee reports?
Jamie, can I ask a question? I had sent an email earlier, but I had had two people ask me where our city agenda are being posted, or if our emails are going out and people weren't getting notified and they couldn't find it on the website. Can we get the agendas posted to the website so that if someone wanted to pull those up, it's available?
They usually are, Chris. Chris.
Yep. Yeah, it was my fault. Last week was crazy, but I did, as soon as I got Sharna's email, I posted it on our website.
Okay, so generally, if someone reaches out, I can just send them to the email and,
Yeah,
or I'm sorry, the website, and that should generally
Yeah,
be
and-
the mechanism where they can find that. Okay.
yeah, and if they want to, we have a whole list of people that I email every week or every, the agendas to, they can also be added to that list.
Okay.
And it's also put on Facebook
Thank you.
usually every meeting too.
Okay.
All right, we don't have any budget items, so we'll move on to,
Jamie?
yes,
So
Yes.
I'm not familiar because this would be the first time I would give a council member report. So I'm just going to give a little report, and then if it's not the right stuff to report during this time, you can tell me so I know exactly what I'm supposed to say during this. But just since the last meeting till now, I noticed that our fire chief was parked at the fire station, so I went and did a little visit at the fire hall, and I told him that was kind of a dual visit because I'm both the commissioner for the fire hall, for the fire department, and for the fire hall as a building. And I can just tell you that I didn't realize that the fire hall is insufficient as it is in terms of really having some safety issues in terms of getting the equipment in there and making sure that our firefighters can get around the equipment to get to the engine that they're supposed to be driving out of the building. And the fact that one of the engines has to back in there so tightly that it runs into a cabinet to be able to shut the front door. I mean, it's just, it is actually worse than I thought. And just as the commissioner, I will certainly try to help Alan all I can in finding grants or whatever to assist. And I'm just going to go on with this because I went to the city hall because Chris had told me to come up because I needed to pick up a key and I needed to drop off some papers. Well, I got there and we started talking. And so, Chris, I'll come by again when I sign the checks to get the key because I didn't pick up the key that day. But we did get to talk about a few things. And I know that we're discussing at some point the Masons upstairs. And I saw a fuel bill of what happens, you know, how much fuel they use. And Chris explained to me that I can't remember which one uses kerosene and which one uses diesel, but they use different fuels. And when I talked to the Masons, they haven't been up there since March of 2020 because the national organization is telling them to social distance and not use the facility. So, I mean, we'll have to look at that and how much fuel usage there is up there. I did get to, Chris was very informative on the city hall building and the structure and gave me a lot of information. Those of you that don't know, I live in Sharna's old house, and a piece of mail came to my mailbox because it went to 136 Callahan Street where I live. And so I was driving it up to Sharna's house, and I noticed that the ambulance and a couple of police officers were at the ambulance station. And so I stopped because I said, I would just like to see your building because I'm in charge of buildings. And Terry was very kind in showing me the building. And at the same time, then the officers that were there were headed over towards the maintenance shop. And so I got to see that. And I will say again, going back to the fire department, it's pretty interesting that we have to store the water tender inside the maintenance shop, which then causes a lot of maintenance that would be able to be done in the winter to not be done because we have the water tender in there and it takes up a lot of space and you know, you can't move it outside because it'll freeze up. So, I mean, we definitely have some building issues in Etna, and this whole idea of fixing that is, I think, really great. The other thing that I asked about is how come we have an ambulance sitting outside? Well, we don't have enough building space to get our ambulances all inside. So it's really interesting, and I'm hoping that that'll be something, if we can get grant funding to assist our community and funds in that direction to at least get everything that we own at some point in its life in a facility that's it should be stored in. So, and I think Alan's excited about that too, if we can make that happen. He isn't showing excitement, but I know he's excited. So that, and then I was on a call with the auditor and the pre-auditor, and I am very excited about where we could head in our fiscal situation. So it's been a busy little bit of time. In the meantime, I'm also, I guess, buildings, it just came to be, I guess because I'm a new council member, I have had a couple of letters of concern. And when it comes to that time, I don't know when that is, when we can just ask, or city council statements and requests down there, I suppose, is where I just want to know about the IOOF hall, and I want it on record. So I had talked to Josh, and he knows that I'm coming with that. I'm not swiping him with it, but I just, because it's our duty, I guess, I feel it is anyway, to make sure that if you get something like that, you at least should look into it enough to know that you're comfortable with what's going on. So other than that, that's been my 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. All right, we'll now go on to the public hearing and portion of this agenda. And because this is a public hearing, I am going to, bear with me, but I'm going to read the notice for the public hearing. So it's official, and we have it out there. So notice of public hearing for discussion of possible state community development block grant, coronavirus rounds 2 and 3 applications. Notice is hereby given that City of Etna will conduct a virtual public meeting on February 16th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m., which is now today, in order to discuss eligible activities for funding under the next fiscal year, which is July 1st to June 30th, state administered community development block grant, coronavirus round 1 program, otherwise known as CDBG. Potential programs for inclusion in the State Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act application. The City Council will consider potential CDBG CV programs and provide directions for staff to prepare an application in response to the release of the notice of funding of availability for CDBG funds for COVID-19 related activities that benefit low and moderate income residents. On March 27th, 2020, Congress passed the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, otherwise known as CARES Act, in response to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The State Department of Housing and Community Development will be publishing a notice of funding availability for CDBG coronavirus aid, relief, and economic security funds. Eligible cities and counties may submit applications for CDBG funds under the upcoming NOFA. It is estimated that the City of Etna will be eligible to receive funds based on a formula allocation by HCD. The state will receive 133 million in CDBG CV2 funds and 18 million in CDBG CV3 funds. Funding for the state administered CDBG CV2 and 3 program was published in a notice of funding availability on December 18th, 2020. Eligible cities and counties may submit applications for funding according to the NOFA. The City of Etna can apply for an amount not to exceed $154,108 for CV2 and $50,212 for CV3, totaling $204,320. Eligible activities paid for with state CDBG funds must meet one of the 3 national objectives listed in CDBG federal statutes as follows. Benefits to low-income household or persons, slum and blight, addressing physical problems in specific neighborhoods, or meeting urgent community development need, a need resulting from a state or federal declared disaster, or posing unforeseen risks to health and safety. In addition, eligible activities must be used directly to prevent, prepare for, or respond to COVID-19 and meet CDBG requirements as provided and directed by HCD in the published NOFA and outlined in their plan as follows. Public services to respond to COVID-19 impact, public facility improvements to increase capacity for healthcare facilities and improve public facility safety. Housing facilities for persons experiencing homelessness, including acquisition and rehabilitation. Economic development to support needs of local businesses to retain and bring back jobs impacted by COVID-19. The City of Etna anticipates submitting an application under this NOFA when released. The city does not expect to expend any program income dollars in the next program year contract term. The city promotes fair housing and makes all its programs available to low and moderate income family, regardless of age, race, color, religion, sex, national origin, sexual preference, marital status, or handicap. Where you come in. The purpose of this public hearing is to give community members an opportunity to make their comments known regarding what types of eligible activities the city should be applying for under the state CDBG program. Any member of the public may virtually participate in the meeting and be heard on the item described in this notice, or members of the public may submit written comments to the city clerk prior to the meeting or mail to city clerk's office, P.O. Box 460, Etna. All right, that was a lot, but it's part of the public hearing to make sure that everybody is aware of that. And so we do, as part of that, we do have a resolution that we can make a motion and vote on tonight on if we want to move forward on this. But before we go on to that, do we have any comments?
Yeah, and I'll like to defer to Quentin, but I did speak with Quentin today about this, and from what I understand, and Quentin, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the suggestion that he has for us is that we should really separate the public hearing process with the resolution and put the resolution off until another later date so that we can have adequate time to actually elicit comments or feedback from the community. The question that I had for Quentin specifically about this grant, which I know that my ears were heightened, and I'm sure yours, everybody here last time that he was on, giving us an appreciation for everything that can be covered under this grant, was that the ambulance was mentioned as a possibility for funding. And it still is. I think the challenge that Quentin described to me, and I can appreciate, is that we would have to basically kind of go out on our own as a city and do the application, and then do all the reporting and the maintenance of that grant on our own if we wanted to go that direction without the assistance of Quentin's organization or Great Northern. So those were the things that I was just trying to weigh out within my own understanding before I, tried to formulate an opinion on what to do here.
All right, any other comments?
Sharna, of course, I'm kind of curious, being the ambulance director, of what type of things would be covered by this, because I know with the CARES Act, we had received compensation already as far as for PPE and lack of calls. We really didn't show a big significant decrease in calls from last year to this year fiscally with the coronavirus. So I'm curious what it would cover for the ambulance, and maybe that's something that we need to discuss off this meeting. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Terry. As soon as Quentin, I think he's going to say something here. And as soon as I kind of understood the gravity of the responsibility and how it would fall on the city staff. I didn't delve much further because I just didn't think that we have the capacity to manage this grant. And but I certainly am open to having further discussions about, you know, whether or not that's the case or not.
Okay.
So I think one of the tricky things with this program, and this is something that all small jurisdictions across the state face, is although it's money in hand, it's hard money. It's difficult money. It's a little more onerous than other programs. So these are sort of the three things I would consider when thinking about this project in particular. The first would be the possibility of easier money coming down the road. We do know that the Biden administration is expecting to spearhead another $1.9 trillion, which is going to include state and local aid. So that may be easier money down the road, but that's an unknown. The second thing I would consider is sort of the capacity side of things to really administer this program, because it's onerous. It's going to take time invested to really from city staff to make sure that everything is done right, and it is very onerous. But it could be used for non-duplicative things. So, for example, I don't know if previous CARES Act funds for the ambulance or anything were able to be used for like staff time. I understand that's a huge cost in actually operating the ambulance. Whereas this could, because Etna is a low to moderate income area by census tract, and the Etna ambulance services the whole community. You would meet your community development block grant national objective that way. And so that would make it easy, but it's still going to be very cumbersome in terms of the reporting, the application process, and everything. So it's not an impossible task, but it's going to put a burden on city staff for sure. The third thing I would look at is sort of exploring what the other needs are going to be. And this is sort of where I come in the different programs that we're going to be doing. So as some of the council members are aware, the City of Etna did participate in the first round grant program, which was to fund micro enterprise assistance, small business assistance. That program is still in contracting. HCD is a very slow agency, to say the least. And so we're still waiting on numerous contracts to go through. So one thing we're talking about doing is bumping up that program with more funds and a bigger timeline. So there'd be your first program. The other two programs that we're going to be doing are going to be in partnership with Great Northern Services. This would provide subsistence payments to residents, and this can be arreared all the way back to March of 2020. This includes water, sewer, electrical, broadband, mortgages, everything except rental assistance, because there will be a state emergency rental assistance program. And the third program would be food banks. And so these are three things that we would take on. The City of Mount Shasta would be the grantee for the second and third program. The City of Dunsmuir remains the grantee for the first. So there really isn't any administrative burden on all the other participant jurisdictions other than what we're doing right now and getting the public hearings completed and the resolutions, etc. So those are sort of, that's sort of the broad overview. I wish it was easier money. I wish that the Federal Register revisions that they made in times of an emergency were a little more substantial than they are. They really haven't expedited the process whatsoever. It's still incredibly burdensome, especially for small jurisdictions to utilize. But you know, it's the money we have available, so we're trying to do what we can to get it out at least.
And Quentin, if we chose not just to do what you recommended, hold this public hearing, assure that we've made the public notices where we needed to, and put this on and the resolution on the agenda for in 2 weeks, the next city council meeting, does that cause you guys any angst as far as your application?
No, so the application deadline was thankfully moved to May 7th. They released the NOFA over the holidays. It was just You know, just horrible planning on their part. I'm not going to hold back words. But I'm not trying to get the application in May 7th. As soon as I get it in, they'll review it. So I'm shooting for the late March, early April window. In regards to the resolution, I'm actually waiting on a couple legal questions from HCD that our regional rep couldn't answer for me. So she had to go back to her lawyers. So, and that's specifically how we're going to structure the memorandums of understanding with these different activities. I would prefer to just have one master MOU and build off the one that you guys already signed in the first round to include additional activities, but we might have to have a separate memorandum of understanding for each activity. It depends on what the lawyers say. I'm waiting on that. Once I get that guidance, I'll be able to update and send an updated resolution to Chris and all the other jurisdictions.
So if I'm understanding you right, I mean, I have no problem, putting off the resolution vote for another meeting. That it makes sense. We can have more discussion and get the word out to everybody. But I don't think I'm understanding you correctly, Quentin, because I'm hearing that you're saying not to apply for a potential $200,000 that could benefit members of this community just because it would be difficult. I'd have a hard time justifying it to any community member and saying, no, we didn't go for that money because it would be hard.
Well, it's not that you're not going for the money, it's that you're not going for that money for a project you'd be doing in-house, which is the ambulance. So for all these other projects, that money is going to be going out to the community. Aetna residents are benefit. I am an Aetna resident. I can assure you of that. It's just that we don't have the capacity to take on an ambulance project. So I'm only speaking specifically to that. The city of Aetna can very well participate in what we're trying to do with the whole county. We're trying to do it, create it so every jurisdiction participates so that we have blanket coverage. So let's say, for example, if someone was a resident in Happy Camp up until July and then moved to Aetna after the fires and had outstanding utility bills from Happy Camp that they brought over to Aetna, that wouldn't trip them up or anything like that. The economies of scale by pooling the funds together is substantial in the administrative side of things. It takes from creating 10, I mean, if you look at it just on a quarterly reporting, you would consolidate 10 different set of reports to one.
I understand that. All right.
So,
yeah, and I'm fine with, and what we talked about at the last meeting with having different communities take the lead role like we've done in the past. And I mean, I'm fine with that. And it makes sense instead of all of us doing separate things, putting it together. That makes sense. I just don't want to drop it for reasons of difficulty.
No, that wasn't where I was headed either, Jamie. And let me just clarify, the thing that's in front of us as city council members, I think really is the question was taking that $204,000 and having it administered through Quentin's group. And the three areas that they would administer it to is public service food banks, subsistence payments, or economic development. And the other thing that qualifies for this money is services for our ambulance, which, as we all know, we came off a pretty rocky year financially, and that if this funding could help us shore up that department and aid in the city's ability not to pull from general funds, that this is actually a benefit, in my opinion, to our community. So I guess it's just, where do we want to put the dollars? And I think Quentin's advice is really good in that I don't believe that we have the capacity to take it on. I merely would just like to have the opportunity to seek some exploration over the next 2 weeks about, is there a possibility, can we look at this as a way to help with our ambulance services, which does supply a really, benefit to the larger community at whole. And that's only, certainly not advocating that we don't apply for this money. It's just Do we take the easier road and let them do it, or do we try to just see whether or not there's a possibility that we can use it to augment ambulance services?
And if you are to pursue, I would highly encourage you to reach out to our regional rep as soon as possible. Her name is Mary Rice. And because they can provide TA as needed. They can't write in an application for you, but they can provide a lot, and they can essentially tell you after some interactions whether you'll be able to do it or not. It's tough when you can count the number of your staff on a hand. It's just it's really difficult to just get over that hurdle with all these different programs. So that's why I say if there's a potential for easier money down the road from additional stimulus in state and local aid, that might be something to consider. I don't have any dog in the fight. It won't deter my ability to administer programs. It's ultimately what's best for the city and for the public. I just want to make sure that you sort of approach it with the level of care needed, because it is a very high touch, high onus, finicky program.
Well, appreciate your input, Clinton.
Yeah, and the thing that I have a hard time, Quentin, is just trying to figure out how much need do we need for, I really don't understand. I don't know this, so I'm talking out loud here, but the need for food bank and the need for subsistence payments, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I just don't have a way to kind of quantify and put those side by side with the ambulance. I know what the need of the ambulance is. That's easy for me to understand. I don't really understand what the need for that, so it's hard for me to kind of balance those out.
Yeah, and I'm actually in that same situation. Even with the micro enterprise grants, I can't gauge the demand for that program because that program hasn't started. So the way we're going to be setting up the budgets for these programs and the resolutions is, and this is guidance from HCD, is that you would authorize the full grant amount for each activity. So with the city of Etna, it's the $200-something thousand. You would authorize that to each activity. When you actually submit the application in your budget, it'll be a different amount. But let's say we're 3 months into the program and we say, hey, we need way more money for subsistence payments, or we need way more money in business grants. You can then on the back end reallocate money from one budget to the other with a simple contract amendment with HCD without having to go through this whole process all over again. It's a little loophole, not a loophole, but it's a shortcut, if you will, a legal shortcut in the budgeting. So that's how we plan on doing that, because we anticipate budgets probably going to change at some point, depending on business demand, on the inputs from various councils. So there is some flexibility there.
All right, I want to make sure we get everybody's comments. Do we have anybody else? Any other thoughts? Well, in that case, if I don't have any more input, then I will make.
I do have another question. I have another question for him. Can I talk again?
Yes.
Thank you, Quentin. So just back to that your last statement there. So the economic development part, that is the grant that we've already submitted for, that you said the contract is not rolling out. Is that correct? So those are the three components. So in the event that we go through the second application and we put, say, $100,000 into food banks, and we realize that $50-some thousand, relatively whatever that number was, in the economic micro enterprise, you're saying by some kind of simple mechanism, we could move food bank money into micro enterprise and take money to our downtown, which is probably in more need of that. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just going to make the motion that we move the resolution to our next meeting for 2 weeks from now, so we have a chance to more think about this, get some more input, and make sure that our community members have an opportunity to look at this.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you, Mitch. Unless there's more discussion, we'll go ahead and move this forward for continued discussion and with the resolution. Voting, Mitch,
Aye.
Sharna,
Oops, sorry. Aye.
Cliff,
Aye.
Jamie is an aye. All right, so we will see this again on the next meeting. All right, thank you, Quentin. You're
Thank you.
you're
All right,
a
just
fount of knowledge.
to
What I'm most
clarify,
excited, what I'm most excited about, Jamie, is you get to read that whole thing again next time.
Thanks, Cliff.
okay. So we're gonna make it a public meeting again,
A public hearing, yes.
a public hearing. Okay.
And this will be on March 1st? Is that 2 weeks? Or on the 28th?
Yeah, March 1st.
Okay.
It's first and third Monday. All right.
Hey, Quentin, could you email that contact information that you mentioned earlier?
Mary Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send that over to you. I haven't tracked down her phone number yet, but I'll see if I can get it. So.
Okay, email would work too. Thank you.
Okay.
And Sharna, can you keep Mike in the loop if you need any help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. You and Mike, for sure.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on in the agenda. The next one up is Jenny Bennett on the Little League field. Jenny, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, Jamie.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Jenny.
So basically, we're going to try and resurrect our Little League season for this 2021 year. Last year, obviously, we canceled it, and I'm asking for approval to utilize the Little League field and its facilities. Our league, we have cleanup days scheduled for mid-March, and our league will conclude June 5th. We use both fields, Etna and Fort Jones, as everybody knows. And I'm scheduled for the Fort Jones City Council meeting the beginning of March. And that's basically it. I don't know what our numbers look like or anything like that. I hope we can get the kids outside and play ball. We will definitely, the board takes the COVID situation very seriously. We will follow all of the current guidelines and restrictions that are in place and adhere to them, such as requiring players to have their own marked water bottles and batting helmets, from that on to doing prepackaged, when we do the snack shack, prepackaged snack shack food, etc. And even before COVID, we've always had issues with numbers, so we don't always have a lot of kids sitting in the dugout, but whatever kids we do have sitting in the dugouts will require them to wear a mask. And there's a bunch of other guidelines that we'll implement and follow as well. And that's basically it. I'm just asking for approval to use the City Little League field and its facilities.
Jenny, one thought while you were talking about this thing came to mind. Is there a way also, assuming we're still having lots of high rate of positive cases, that the stands where fans, parents sit can be put, with social distancing in mind and requiring masks for any of the fans that come to watch the games?
Yes, we'll do the best we can with that. I mean, we can tape spots on the bleachers.
Yeah.
We'll do the best we can with that.
Yeah, we could do signage, we could, do some things like that.
Yeah, we can post signs and everything like that, and I'll bring it back to the board for supplying a hand sanitizing station as well. And I know there's a drinking fountain there at the ball field. I'm sure we can figure that part of that out. I guess maybe we can, I don't know. It's a question for Dan on the drinking fountain. We can just require kids to bring their own water bottles with their names on it and do the best we can as far as all of that goes.
Okay, any comments?
Well, Mitch, that drinking fountain, just shut it off. Just don't use it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that we'll do that, and we'll do the best we can with marking spots, and I'm sure that I can convince the board to supply a hand sanitizing station and whatever else we would need to do.
Jenny, I have a few signs here at the fairgrounds that I have extra, and they say wash your hands, wear a mask, a few things like that. I will bring those to you for the Little League Park. And what else was I going to tell you? Oh, I do have a couple of plans that are protocol plans that have templates that would work well for that, because I had to make those for myself. It would be very easy to adjust it so that you have an actual written plan for the baseball season, and I will help you with that.
Yeah, I think we're working on developing a plan, but any additional information from you would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I can just tell you I love baseball, and I love little kids. So I will bring you the plan, and it's so much easier to go, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. And you can just change out, you almost can just take it and retype it and just put Etna Little League or Scott Valley Little League or whatever you call it, Scott Valley Baseball, in the spots, and you got your plan done.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
One
I'm
thing,
pretty sure
I don't know exactly if you're under the same jurisdiction. Like, I think all of us have to, and I have to, and I'm pretty sure Siskiyou County, if you're in Siskiyou County, they require that you at least make sure that our director of public health, which is Shelley Davis, knows that you're going to do baseball season. And she is very impressed when you have a little plan that you've written on how you're going to do all this and you send that to her. She just usually says, it looks like you have it under control. Have fun. That's what she'll tell you.
Yeah, we did a plan for the pool last year, Cliff. Same type of thing.
Yep. That's all good then. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else, Jenny? Any more comments?
No, I just have one other thing to mention, and I should have been a little bit more detailed on my agenda, but I wasn't quite sure. We're not getting any use permits from the school. So I don't know what we're going to do with our farm leaguers and our little T-ballers, because they usually play on the school field. And so I can bring it back on an agenda for the next meeting, but I was thinking maybe we could use the upper area of the park. I know it's not, ideal, but they're just little T-ballers. So, but like I said, I can put that on an agenda for the next meeting as maybe hopefully a potential option, because I'm essentially down to 2 fields. I just have the Etna Little League field and the Fort Jones Little League field. That's it. I don't have any indoor space. I don't have any school field space. I don't have any of that. So
Jenny, what is the status or condition of the ball field down by the rodeo grounds?
beyond awful.
Is it?
Yeah, you can't even walk out there without spending an hour picking the goat heads off of your shoes.
Terrible. Sorry to hear that.
Alan?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that the schools are starting to open up sports for the schools and beginning, well, I think they have softball, baseball, and track scheduled for late March through the 1st of May. And so it might be worth going back to the school board and seeing if school facilities might become available.
Yeah, I've been in contact with the schools, and even just within the last 30 minutes. So it's not
Okay.
an option.
Yeah, and
All right.
and how that works, I can interject because we run into a lot of those same problems with PAL, is that the reason that outside agencies can't use the school facilities because of the possibilities of kids participating that aren't part of the school jurisdiction. And so because of that, that's where we've had to go out and find different facilities. They are out there. They're very difficult to find sometimes, but I'll work with you on that, Jenny, too, because I have a couple other possibilities that that might work.
That sounds good.
All right. Any more discussion on this subject? If not, then I need a motion.
I move to approve the usage of the Little League field for the 2021 season.
Mitch,
Do I
I'll
have-
second.
All right, Mitch is second and Cliff had the motion. So we will go ahead and vote. Mitch,
Aye.
Shorna,
Aye.
Cliff,
Aye.
and Jamie is an aye. And so that motion is passed. And Jenny, yeah, go ahead and bring that second topic back to for another meeting.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. All right, on the next agenda is Mike. Is Mike with us, or is it Terry tonight on the request approval to submit for a grant?
I'm here. I'm just waiting to see if Mike's here. We're not in the same building.
I only see one caller, unidentified. But
Okay. Unidentified. Is that me?
no, you're identified. So
Oh, okay.
you
Nope.
want to go ahead, Terry, then?
Sure. So Mike had been working with Chris and Sharna, kind of read over the grant. He's brought it up a couple times in agendas. The deadline, I believe, was the 15th, or it was the 16th. I'm not sure. So either way, he's gone ahead and submitted that grant request. It's through the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Association. It would provide up to $200,000 for training and equipment for basically our ambulance service, and continuing with the community care program that we talked about and making it more of a community paramedicine program when that came to be. There would be no match for dollars. It would be specifically a grant that he'll have to track and give plans for over the next 4 years. So he did get that submitted, so it got in before the deadline, and was told he just needed to bring that up and let y'all know that he did get it submitted. And then, of course, once we get word if it's accepted or if we're going to be a recipient, then we'll put it on the agenda again to get approval to take the money.
All right, any questions for Terry? Any comments?
Just say good job getting it done before it ran out.
Oh, yeah, he did a great job on that. Sharna, you saw it. I was impressed when I read it for his first big grant proposal. I thought he did an excellent job.
right.
I agree, Terry. And I guess the thing that I would just like to say is thank you. I have said this to him, but you know, for you guys to independently go out there and seek money, that really just shows your level of commitment to what you're doing. And I just personally, I appreciate it. So thank you.
We're so excited to be able to do this for the community and be a part of it. So hopefully it'll come through and that'll just kind of advance things further. So anyway, thanks for your help.
So we need, I need a motion. We need to vote on this.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We accept the approval of the grant that Mike put in.
Okay, so you request approval to submit the application for the 200,000 grant.
Correct.
All right, I will second that. I don't have any more discussion. Take a vote. Mitch?
Aye.
Darna?
Aye.
And Cliff?
Aye.
And Jamie is an aye. So the motion is passed. So, so Mike can be okay that he submitted the application. All right.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Terry. And then the next on the agenda is Alan Kramer. I'll just let you and Cliff speak on this.
Okay. Am I live?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I have maintained our fire department on a list to be notified when there is federal excess property that's available. And we already have one piece of federal excess property. That's a 1997 Type 3 fire engine, which we got a little over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago now, and it actually went out and made us money this summer. So that was a very good acquisition. The Federal Excess Property Program provides equipment and vehicles for fire departments at minimal cost. Essentially, the federal government still owns the property. It is put out for us to use to the extent that we want it. When we no longer need it, we can't sell it. We turn it back in. It goes back to the federal government. There are some stipulations with the program. One of the stipulations is that you have to integrate it into your department's color schemes and so on. It can't look like federal property anymore. So we were very fortunate that the engine that we got had already been painted by another entity that had held that federal property for a short period of time and then had an opportunity to get a new engine. What I'm proposing here is to accept a 2005 Ford F-250 Super Cab, which has been part of the USGS system and has been moved out of their system and replaced. Wish I could be like Josh and have new ones coming off the line, but you know, some of us, we just have to do the best we can, Josh. Anyway, the current vehicle that I am using as a Chiefs rig and a command vehicle is a 1997 Chevy Tahoe, which has 235,000 miles and 24 pretty hard years on it. It used to be a sheriff's department patrol vehicle, so it's kind of nearing the end of its useful life. So I have been looking for a replacement vehicle for that. This truck is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so it's not quite as convenient as going to Petaluma to pick it up, but I feel like it's still worth the effort. And so my proposal is to fly to Albuquerque and drive the truck back myself to save shipping charges. And I think you can see I put some kind of ballpark numbers for costs on there. I would move the radios out of the vehicle that I am currently driving, the Chevy Tahoe, and put them in the replacement vehicle. At some point, we'd want to put a light bar on top, and I haven't decided yet whether we would use the light bar that's on top of the Chevy Tahoe or try and purchase something new. That's something I'd evaluate once the truck gets here, but it's not an immediate thing that we would need to do. And of course, we have to identify it as Aetna's vehicle. And so I would need to get some striping, and I already have some Aetna Fire Department decals to go on the side. We'd have to have a little bit more investment in terms of identification numbers and striping. So that's my proposal. We have tentatively been awarded the vehicle. It is reserved for us unless you all tell me to turn it back.
All right, any comments?
Alan, I didn't ask you, is it a standard Ford color, or is it a green or something already?
It is dark white.
Well, that's probably fine.
Yep, it's kind of the same color as the vehicle that I am currently driving, and it'd be easy to put some vinyl stripes on it and some Aetna Fire Department insignias, and I think we'd be good to go.
I also have some light bars that I could give you, Alan, too, that might be able to save you a little bit on that end.
All right. Yeah, I'd be looking for opportunities to draw from what we already have.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I just have one more question, Alan, and I didn't ask you this, but would the Tahoe be able to be sold as a operational vehicle that runs down the road, or would it be just scrapped?
No, I'm currently driving it, Cliff.
I understand that, but I mean, do you think if we were to put it on the market instead of getting the 8 cents a pound or something, you know, even cars that still run, they sometimes scrap them, but it's good enough that we could put it, you know, sell it for maybe enough money to, because that's our vehicle, correct? We didn't get it on a give back situation. It's just ours.
The city owns that vehicle.
That's
So,
wonderful.
yes.
So we would make enough money off of it maybe to pay for all the stuff you need for this one that you'll have to turn back in.
That's a good possibility, Cliff.
Good.
And I'm hoping that maybe by now there is some of our money from equipment off of the fires last summer that might be available for helping with replacement equipment.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
Well, I was
do
just
have-
going to,
Oh,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
make the motion. I'll make the motion that we accept the vehicle and also the estimated cost for going to pick it up in Albuquerque.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been seconded. Do I have any more last comments? If not, I will call for a vote. Mitch? Mitch, are you with us?
Said aye.
Oh, couldn't hear you. Sharna?
Aye.
Cliff?
Aye.
And Jamie is an aye. So the motion is passed. So Alan, you will have a new command vehicle, but you just have to go and find it.
Yeah, I need to clarify that is a new old command vehicle,
Right.
but not as old as the current one. So we will consider it to be an upgrade, hopefully.
Let's hope so. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Alan. Okay, so unless we have any correspondence or city council statements, do we have any?
I would like to put on the record while I'm on the council, exactly where we are on the IOF Hall through the PAL program, which I guess it's under the city too. I don't understand exactly how PAL works. I know the police department is, but PAL is a separate entity. So, but I would just like to know so that we have it on record where we are in terms of I call it the IOF Hall, but it's the old Pleasure Park building or whatever else, Josh. And if you would just do that, it would really make me feel good.
Okay, before Josh explains that to you, we have gone on record. This has been discussed at least 3 city council meetings.
Okay.
And I know you're new. I'm just stating though that it is on record that it has been discussed and the situation, even if the people don't like the answer, we
I understand.
have made that clear. Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so as you guys know, I mean, the building has become an eyesore, nuisance with the bat issues and then the pigeon issues that developed over the last couple of years. We've addressed it as the code enforcement all the way back, even with the county in 2012. Due to it being a commercial building, a lot of the rules and regulations of our municipal codes didn't apply necessarily, but we wanted to find a way that we could turn this building back into what it used to be. I mean, it used to be a pretty neat building that a lot of activities like gymnastics and everything were held, but essentially try to bring it back into a community center, a community building of some sort. And so we kind of dug into it with the Pleasure Park, who is the current owners. Corey Hayden is on as well, and she'd be able to fill in a little bit too. So we started to look at that, the PAL being able to go in and maybe try to fix this issue, being a nonprofit. We are separate from the city. We did go to the Pleasure Park. If we were going to take on this program, we wanted either to purchase it or have some kind of substantial lease of 50 plus years, because realistically, it's probably going to cost about $1 million to get this thing back up and running, which is doable. There's a lot of great organizations like the Ford Foundation and a lot of community members out there, like Denny Barr and Corey herself, to be able to implement this. When we started to look into it, it appeared at first that if they sold it, there was something back in the old deed that said that building or the proceeds of that would then go to the Elks Lodge in Wairika. If that was the case, they had their own ideas of what they were going to do with the building that would allow a business to come into Etna that wouldn't be feasible for Etna. That was another one of our concerns. So we dove into the leasing it for an extended period of time. Several committees were put together. Several meetings were done. Cole lost a lot from Denny Barr, put a lot of time into seeing what it would take to at least get through stage 1, which would be getting rid of the bat issue, the pigeon issue, sealing it up, and making sure that that didn't happen again. And so a lot of that was done, and we had a lease out there. It was never signed. COVID kind of came into play and put a kibosh on a lot of things. And so we were stagnant for quite a while. Recently, we've been kind of starting up again on things. We still have the plan in effect. There's potential grants out there. Corey Hayden can speak to that, of one currently that we have to try to get us at least to the point of getting the place sealed up and no longer that nuisance that we all smell during certain times of the years, especially. It's still a pretty good building. I mean, it could potentially be a pretty neat fixture of the community again. And we try to get as many people interested in helping. It's going to be a process. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience, especially with the COVID thing. But we are still there wanting to make this building great like it used to be. So that's kind of where we stand. Corey can maybe fill in some of the blanks or some of the things I may have forgotten. But that's kind of where we're at. And COVID just really put a damper on things right when we were about ready to go.
Yep. Thanks, Josh. I really appreciate that. I apologize for the public comment section today where I was trying to learn if I was supposed to talk or not, and my phone was not on mute. And I'm glad to be able to come back around here at the end now. Yes, Josh reported very accurately about the recent community leaders that have been revolving around this project. We have a $25,000 commitment from Ford for feasibility to learn and plan for how we might approach this building. And so that is the piece that was in place right before COVID. And then we just sort of forgot how to operate a little bit there. But like Josh said, we're ramping back up to approach this project. The deed on the building belongs to Scott Valley Pleasure Park. I'm a representative on that board, so I can serve as a direct contact for the facility. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly to feel connected to the entity that holds the ownership. In investigating the deed, as Josh referenced, the deed does say it formerly belonged to the Oddfellows, and that first right of refusal would go to the Oddfellows. That contradicts the circulating idea that the first right of refusal belongs to the Wairika Elks. So unless there's something else in play, another layer there that I'm not aware of, I just wanted to share that information. And I've talked to the title company and Oddfellows just in terms of that first right of refusal clause that's on the deed, and am working on a deed update. So if the building were ever to transfer, that could be done successfully for our community and the building. But that's secondary to the initial project ahead in terms of reducing the accumulation of the bat guano and the bird guano safely. So that's something that we're working as a team to decide the best route for that. One is bringing in hazmat to remove it. The other is to equip ourselves to do it if that's possible. And so those are the two things we're just weighing back and forth right now. And we're really grateful for that initial funding from the Ford Family Foundation of $25,000. And then Ford long-term will invest $250,000 in a community facility. That's far from the costs that it would take, but a phased approach, like Josh mentioned, is something that we are working on. So please reach out to me anytime I can be of help. And just thank you. And that's it for me. Any questions I can answer at all?
I would like to go ahead and put this on the next meeting. Corey, if you could attend that one, that would be great. That
Sure.
way we can, if we need to make any motions or anything, we can do that officially, because
Okay.
we really can't do anything else tonight, but it's just information
course.
sharing.
Yep, that sounds great.
Thank you, Corey. All right, Cliff, did that answer enough
No,
of your
that-
question?
No, that I appreciate that a bunch because it will help me address the plethora of emails I've gotten at my new city email. And I just think this is the best way to do it. We communicate back out, and we may, you said you've done it 3 times. It may take 33 times, but as long as we don't change, and like you said, They may not be happy with the speed or whatever it is that we're working on it, but we truly are, as a city, we care, and we are working on situations that the public that we represent put before us. So that's all I can say about that.
I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there about the hall. I know that a lot of it was cleared up in the last couple times we've talked about it, and having Corey and Josh here to clarify that helps with the rumor mill about who owns it, what can be done with it.
Right.
Mhm.
And Corey?
Well, it is hard. It is hard when people are not attending the meetings to be informed and are just sending, you know, their
Corey?
choosing not to be informed.
I do have a question for Corey if she's still on.
I sure am, Cliff.
Hey, so Corey, is it the Odd Fellows are a different organization from the Elks, and
Yes, sir.
in Wairika, if you remember correctly, the building that is Bella Arts,
Yes, sir.
I think that's the old Odd Fellows Hall in Wairika.
Yep.
And
I
the
agree.
person who actually would be in charge of that Odd Fellows Hall and that one in Etna then would be Alfred Brandon.
I agree, and I had a conversation with Alfred about this very topic, and I can share with you guys with what he said about these first right of refusals anytime, and I can also share with you what the Mount Shasta title said about these first right of refusals. But at this point, I am no longer perpetuating the Wairika Elks concept and a business that might be unsavory for Etna personally until I discover otherwise. I know that that's what has been discussed before. I know that's what Josh cited. But in my investigation and the deed, I believe it's Oddfellows is the first right of refusal, and that clause has expired, and it would take a deed update to feel at ease about that clause. But
Very
that's
good.
a separate topic from the actual decrease of the accumulation of bat and bird guano, which
That's
is
true.
the important matter at hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, it'll be, we can, Chris, make sure we have that on the agenda for next time. All right, then I believe it's time for adjournment. Oh, Josh, did you have something?
I just wanted to add, not specifically to the Oddfellows Hall, but as you guys get letters or concerns about, different areas or blight or anything within the city, I encourage you guys to kind of go out and drive around like we do and see, educate yourselves on it, because it's all open to interpretation. And again, to prevent those rumors and those things from spiraling, the more that we're all on the same page and you know exactly what we're looking at, if we're looking at a certain code enforcement issue or anything like that at all, it goes a long ways and it helps out quite a bit. So if you guys do get a chance, I know you guys are busy, but driving around town as we do for 10 hours a day, sometimes we get to see quite a bit more than we want to a lot of times, but it's really good educational tool for you guys, as you guys have to make these decisions, and ultimately it's up to you. And Alan, I also ran into somebody today, I don't know if you're interested, but out at Quartz Valley Reservation, they have a fire engine out there that they would be willing to donate to an organization that would take it. I don't know if you're familiar with it. They've tried to sell it for $5,000 and nobody wants to drive that far to get it. But they said they might be willing to donate it. So I just said I would pass that on to you. If you are interested, let me know and I can put you in contact with that person.
I believe that that's an engine that was donated to them by Scott Valley Fire Department, which had already gotten most of the goodie out of it. And I'm kind of looking to go the other direction with our department upgrading.
That makes sense. I just figured I told them I'd throw it out there for you just in case.
Thank you.
All right.
So Jamie,
now,
is the time that we request for future agenda items or
or you could just send them in to Chris.
Okay.
Okay. All right, folks, we kind of skirted off of normal agenda procedures, so I'm going to pull us back and adjourn this meeting tonight. And if you have more items, contact Chris and put them on for the next meeting. All right. Thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.